Hola, bona tarda a tothom. Moltes gràcies per haver vingut. Això és Seqüència 2, és la segona edició de Seqüència, que és un cicle que busca els vincles entre els cossos i les imatges, és indagar tot allò performatiu que uneix el cos i la imatge. És un programa públic que vaig encarregar l'any passat al Marc Vives i al Fernando Gandasegui i vam fer la primera edició, que va ser molt potent, i estem aquí amb la segona, que jo crec que és igual o millor. Jo crec que directament us passo la paraula al Marc, que us explicarà una mica què farem avui, i potser també pots avançar una mica a lo de demà, no? Vinga, doncs gràcies.
Vale, me voy a cambiar al castellano por cambiar. Nada, pues eso, aquí tengo a Fer, nada, hemos preparado este programa. Os cuento solo un poco como la dinámica para no me voy a como entretener en explicar las cosas porque pasarán y ya está. Y la idea es que se vayan juntando, que se vayan mezclando ahora, el mes que viene, que se vayan juntando en vuestras cabezas y que produzcan otras cosas. Nada, empezaremos con Paula Caspao. Prepara un ensayo visual, una poquita especie de charla. Luego la idea es no parar, quiero decir, lo haremos del tirón, seguiremos con Maggi Barber, proyectaremos una película suya y ahí sí que vamos a hacer una paradita para quitar las sillas y preparar el set, el tiempo para ir al baño, ir a fumar, no os vayáis muy lejos tampoco. Pero bueno, solo eso, como que desde de la primera intervención a la segunda, si alguien tiene que salir por urgencia que lo haga, pero que intentaremos hacerlo de seguido. Solo un detallito, la película de Maggi, sobre todo al principio hay escenas de donde hay animales que están muertos, lo digo si alguien... lo comentamos, alguien tiene como especial sensibilidad, es pues algo que pasa en la ganadería, pero sale en la película reflejado, ¿vale? Entonces, nada, me le paso a...
Gracias por venir. Voy a cambiar al inglés por cambiar. It's just that I could try to speak Portuñol, but it's really not very comfortable for me. So I just wanted to thank you for being here and also to thank the whole organization and the rivers of communication that brought me here, and to acknowledge also all the efforts, the way that everybody came until here and the organization and all that kind of thing that it takes for people to gather. The thing that I'm going to share is, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's a process of study. It's more like a surface of annotation, so it's not a work of art. Although it's an aesthetic object because it's sensorial and it works with the senses. So I have nothing else to say about it right now. And I'll be there. I will have some things to say, to add. But please don't, it's not, it's by the side, it doesn't really belong. The focus is this, although of course you do whatever you want with your senses. I cannot control that. But anyway, it's not, I won't be reading as a performance or to give some kind of live dimension to the thing. I'm not interested in that. I'm a very bad performer. But anyway, afterwards, if you have questions, you have questions. I'm glad to talk. If not, you can also write me a letter, or because if you're like me, I'm really slow, and generally right after the things I don't have any questions because they only come 2 days or 2 months or 2 years or maybe never. It doesn't matter. But so I'm glad with any questions or non-questions. So please enjoy. That's the most important thing. I hope you enjoy.
We are recording tonight, and because we are recording, we were trying to do some things that actually are too tired to do. But it's Faye Dunaway, I think it was. She said when Bonnie and Clyde came out in the whole bit, she said she tried to give people what they wanted. That's a mistake, really. Eh? I know. But you can't do it, but only after you use up everything you got trying to give everybody what they want. Let's see what we can do with this lovely, lovely thing that goes past all racial conflict and all kinds of conflicts. It is a reflective tune. And sometime in your life, you will have occasion to say, what is this thing called time? You know, what is that? The clock, you go to work by the clock, you get your martini in the afternoon by the clock, and your coffee by the clock, and you have to get on the plane at a certain time and arrive at a certain time. And it goes on, on. And time is a dictator, as we know it. Where does it go? What does it do? Most of all, is it alive? Is it a thing that we cannot touch, and is it alive? And then one day you look in the mirror, how old, you say, where did time go? We leave you with that one. Across the morning sky, all the birds are leaving. How can they know that it's time to go? Before the winter fire will still be dream. I do not count the time.
Yes, we still are displaced persons,
Where the time goes,
even
knows
today.
where the time
And the world is full of us. Every continent is full of displaced persons.
sad, deserted shore. Your fickle friends are leaving. Oh, then you know. And then it's time for them to go. But I will still be here. I have no thoughts of leaving. For I do not count the time. Who knows where the time goes? Who knows where the time goes?
Je vais m'installer Windfinder.
C'est quoi Windfinder?
C'est un truc pour le vol. Sur le téléphone.
Il y a
When Louis XIV, Louis XIV, was first presented with a pineapple, he was so eager to taste it that he bit straight through and hurt his upper lip quite badly. At the beginning of the 1760s, Linnaeus and his daughter sat in their Uppsala, Sweden garden at dusk, where samples of flora from distant fields had been cultivated into a botanical record of systematic relatedness. The father named the plant for something it brought to his mind's eye: Tropaeolum, the trophy pole of ancient Mediterranean war practice, adorned with the shields, the leaves, and bloody helmets, flowers of the vanquished. Lysistina noticed something that many others had remarked, which is that at dusk, nasturtiums seem to flash. They seem to emit a light. They seem to generate light. As it turns out, there is a perceptual gap that those of us who can use our eyes and can see at dusk experience. And an object like a nasturtium, which has such intense color in that shifting light, confuses our eyes. The rods and the cones, so the cones can see the red, and the rods lose it. And in the moment or gap between the rod and the cone, we perceive the appearance of light. The appearance of light. But what's actually happening is that our eyes betray their own weaknesses and strength all at once. For we who can use our eyes, the perceptual gap between rods and cones makes the nasturtiums appear to give off light. They don't. We see it anyway. The heroic history of science characterizes early botany as a pure scientific pursuit, invested particularly in the naming and classifying of plants and the order of nature. What is often left unsaid is that early 18th century botany as an academic discipline existed only because knowledge about the properties of plants for medicinal and economic purposes was important to European states. What does it mean to decolonize? Sous vide. We live in a time, we live in a place where institutions stage and reenact their criticality, their diversity, their intermediality, their post-coloniality and their conviviality, but very little changes. It's more than obvious that the bloody capital is perfectly capable of incorporating the idea of decolonization and decoloniality. That's why we need to consider the endurance of the colony beyond the historically situated colonial political regime. Capital is always colonizing. The colony is therefore consubstantial with capital. To understand how it persists, we have to get rid of the approach that can only see the colony in the form that Europe gave it in the 19th century and not confuse colonization and colonialism. Without the colony, writes Françoise Vergès, including la colonie de vacances, there would be no countries with structurally racist institutions. Holding several threads at once to overcome the segmentation induced by ideology, Françoise Vergès proposes the method of multidimensionality. For example, in a presentation of critical decolonial pedagogy, she uses a familiar fruit like the banana to enlighten a certain amount of analogies of elective affinities. We could do the same with the pineapple, sugar, you name it. To acknowledge that proper citation is impossible and superfluous. As I mentioned the word acknowledging, these words started to replay. Acknowledgement, Fred Moten once said, is a totally interesting word, with an interesting history. First of all, it's very much bound up with depth. People usually think that acknowledgement of, let's say, citation as a modality of acknowledgement is about the acknowledgement of a depth. It seems that historically, prior to that, there's a more basic meaning which is interesting to acknowledge. To acknowledge is to admit that one knows. So it's not just that you are acknowledging that you owe this debt, you're also acknowledging that you know. That you owe this debt, so there's a self-reflexivity to the notion of acknowledgement before it becomes what people want to think of as a relational term. I know I owe. Well, what do you owe? I know that I owe this thing that I know to someone else. That's basically, you know, I know that I owe this thing that I know to someone else. I know that I owe this thing that I know to someone else who owns it. That's when it gets tricky. You know, you owe this thing that you know to the person who owns that knowledge. But of course, the person who owns that knowledge is already himself or herself in a chain of similar acknowledgements. So one owns anything that we know. So no one owns anything that we know. For those of us who believe in the necessity and the absolute righteousness of refusing the very idea of private property, the most immediate place in which that refusal has to be carried out is in the notion that what we know, that anything that we know is private and can be owned. And then the really tricky thing about acknowledgement as a word, if you look at the etymology, there's a moment in the dictionary. It's all about what it is to know and what it is to owe and what it is to own. At the same time, of course, there's this brutal history of stealing. But the brutal history of stealing is a function of the equally brutal history of the imposition of ownership and of those boundaries. That constitute the ontological ground, so to speak, of ownership. So there's just this condition / practice of sharing, which is study, and I don't know. I guess it's weird, maybe it seems contradictory. We don't believe in citation, and we don't believe in intellectual property, and we don't believe in the ownership of intellectual property. But our mouths are full of the names of our friends who we study with. So maybe sometimes that seems like, I would just say that when we mention our friends, it's not because we're citing them, it's because they're with us all the time. This is probably not sharp enough of a distinction to seem rigorous, but that's pretty much what we've got. Plants and Empire, Colonial Bioprospecting in the Atlantic World, is a book by Londa Shibinger that I have been living with, not reading it since 2015. It shows that plants are often at the center of high intrigue, going against the predominant state of affairs that depoliticizes natural silence and all entanglements with non-human agents, which nevertheless figure and play many parts in the grand narratives of war, peace, and everyday life. In the 18th century, epic voyages were sponsored by European imperial powers to explore the natural riches of the so-called New World and uncover the botanical secrets of its people. Bioprospectors brought back medicines, luxuries, and staples for their king and country. Plants and Empire, the book, shows how botany and slavery, cruelty and courage, curiosity and capitalism all converged on one beautiful peacock flower, the ornament of European gardens, a sought-after medicament, and an abortifacient for slave women who refused to bear children into inhuman bondage.
Oui, c'est ça.
On sait bien. On le sait.
Bien sûr.
C'est pas une pression, c'est un accompagnement.
Tout à fait. Je le prends comme tel.
C'est tout un comité. Tu es beau comme un comité de gestion. Tu es beau comme une réunion de parlementaires. De non-propriétaires.
Comité d'ingestion.
Hein?
Un comité d'ingestion, de digestion, de congestion.
Réunion de gestion.
The great relief. Your throat feels tight You have trouble breathing, you feel nauseous, a weight on your chest, a loss of your sense of orientation, a bitter taste in your mouth. The only cure is a simple method, efficient, practical. Step by step, simple, soothing gestures you can invent every day.